The last two chapters, chapters 15 and 16, out of our textbook, I had to tape it because of family emergency. I cannot be here on Saturday. I apologize for that. But everything else remained the same. The homework assignment, the exam assignment remain the same. The deadlines are the same. And if you need to get in touch with me, you can use my email, and that would be the best way to get in touch with me. I would be able to check my email often. Chapter 15 is talking about international economics and international trade. The case at the beginning of the chapter is talking about how interdependent the economies around the world are, and depending on the country, some countries with their international trade, export and import, would account for more than 50% of their economy. For the United States, is about 10%. So, but it's still the largest in terms of dollar. When you talk about $700-800 billion of import and as much for export. For the United States, it would make it about 10% of the GDP. So it is important, even for the United States, when we are talking about 10% of the GDP having to do with import and export, it is important to understand what drives the export and import activities of a country. When countries are in recession, one of the things that happens is they try to curb their importation of products from others, which would be the export of the other country, but that would hurt both countries in the process. Again, the idea behind doing trade with other countries is it goes back hundreds of years, and economies would do better if they open up the door and trade what they can do best with other countries. So if the United States can produce more efficiently, say, technology items, they will concentrate on technology items and trade that for basic products, be it farm products or be it manufacturing, basic manufacturing. And this is basically why we see a lot of the manufactured product you see in the stores, like if you go to Walmart, they are almost exclusively produced in less developed countries or developing countries and shipped to the United States. And United States would concentrate on producing the machineries and the technology and the management of those facilities, and that's how they take advantage of their best resources instead of concentrating on manufacturing, which can be done basically anywhere around the globe. So one of the things we talk about in this chapter is about export and import. If you recall, I'm going to write these down. If you recall, for an open economy, we had the GDP equal consumption plus investment plus government expenditure plus net export, which is export minus import. It is this last part, the export minus import, which is the focus of this chapter 15. Now, our export to other countries is a function of basically two variables. One is the income of the rest of the world and exchange rate, we've shown with R. How much of a foreign currency can US dollar by the relationship between Y star, which is the income in other countries, and export is a positive relationship. In other words, if the economies of the rest of the world is doing better, then that means our export will go up. The relationship between R, which is the value of the US dollar, and export would be a negative relationship. That means when the US dollar is strong, or is up, then export will go down. Okay, because our currency is more expensive, and consequently that would impact the price of our product for other countries. On the other hand, our import is a function of our income, Y, and exchange rate. Again, with our income and import, the relationship would be positive. That means when our income goes up, when our income goes up, import will go up, right? When our income goes up, our purchase of goods and services, including import, will go up. And the relationship between exchange rate and import would also be positive. That means when our currency is stronger, then we can buy more of the currencies of other countries, and consequently more of their product per dollar. So for us, it would be cheaper to import, given everything else the same. It would be cheaper to import products from other country. Now, when you look at the balance of trade, that would be the relationship between export of goods and services, and M, which is import of goods and services. So export minus import would show the balance of trade. Now, this balance of trade would be offset with inflow and outflow of capital. So when you look at balance of payment table, which is basically an accounting form, you would have export minus import plus capital inflow minus capital outflow. This would be equal to 0. Therefore, the payment would be the balance of payment would be balanced. Okay, so if export minus import is positive, for this equality on top to end up being equal to 0, that means capital inflow minus capital outflow should be negative. That's how the balance of payment would be settled. We're going to see this in table, and it is in table in your book. So when a country has a surplus, this is export minus import, you would talk about surplus of trade. Then capital outflow would be more. Capital outflow here, this would be more than capital inflow, therefore this would be negative. Again, capital inflow less than capital outflow. That's how it would settle the balance of payment, the balance of trade surplus. On the other hand, if export minus import is negative, that means you have a deficit in your trade. Then capital inflow minus capital outflow would be positive, right? That means more money would be coming in form of capital than going out of the country. So again, the balance of the two, the movement of capital and movement of goods and services, the balance of the two is called balance of payment. That's one issue. Let's talk about another thing in this chapter. Exchange rate. Exchange rate is the value of a currency in terms of another. A value of a currency in terms of another. And we show it with R. So if we say $1 equals 0.95 of a euro, this would be the exchange rate between US dollar and euro. And that is R. We can express this as 1 over R as an inverse. That would give me the value of 1 euro in terms of a dollar, which would be 1 over 0.95. That would be a little bit more than a dollar. Okay? So exchange rate is between two currencies. Exchange rate is between two currencies. So you take the US versus euro, you take the US versus Japanese yen, US versus Swiss franc, US versus Canadian dollar, and that would be the exchange rate between the two currencies. Determination of the exchange rate has to do with quantity demanded and quantity supplied of a currency in the currency market. So first, what is quantity demanded of dollar in the market? Quantity demanded of dollar in the market would be a function of export and capital inflow. Okay? That means when demand for our export goes up, when other countries would like to buy more of our product, in order to pay for our product, they have to pay it with the US dollar. Therefore, their demand for dollar will go up. Therefore, the relationship between export and quantity demanded for dollar would be a positive relationship. In addition, the relationship between capital inflow into the United States and quantity demanded for a dollar would also be positive. If foreigners want to invest more in the US dollar in terms of buying more real estate, buying more manufacturing plant, and so on, then they have to demand more dollar in the currency market, and use that dollar to purchase real estate or manufacturing, whatever they want to purchase here. So that determines quantity demanded for dollar. On the other hand, quantity supplied of the dollar would be a function of our import and capital outflow. Quantity supplied. Well, first, who supplies dollar to the currency market? It would be us. People who live here, people who work here, people who earn US dollar. So we supply US dollar into the currency market. So that would be a function of our import. So if our demand for import from other countries go up, we want to buy more of their product, then we have to exchange more of our currencies for their currencies. So we supply the market with the US dollar and demand something else. Whatever, if we want to buy from Japan, that we are demanding Japanese yen. If we want to buy more stuff from Germany, then we would be demanding more euro, and so on and so forth. Also, the capital outflow, that is when we want to invest in real estate, when we want to invest in manufacturing facilities overseas, then we have to convert our currency for their currency. So we supply the market with US dollar and buy their currency and do our investment overseas, whether it might be in China, it might be in Malaysia, it might be Vietnam or whatever. That means our supply of US dollar in the currency market will go up. Now, how does the exchange rate is determined, and why would it change? If you take two countries, let's say United States and Japan, United States and Japan. Okay, United States has dollar, Japan has yen. Okay. Now, then we put it in the form of this quantity demanded for dollar, quantity supply of dollar, right? So, quantity demanded in this case of US and Japan, quantity demanded for dollar would be a function of the Japanese income, would be a function of the Japanese income, right? If their income goes up, they want to buy more stuff, including more stuff from the US. In order to buy more stuff from the US, they have to demand dollar in the currency market. So demand for dollar will go up. So there is a relationship between Japanese income and quantity demanded for dollar, and that relationship is positive. In addition, R, which is the exchange rate between US dollar and the Japanese yen. When the dollar is strong, that means Japanese yen is weak. They wouldn't want to buy as much of our product, therefore they would not have as much demand for US dollar. Therefore, the relationship between the exchange rate, the value of dollar in terms of Japanese yen, the relationship between the exchange rate and quantity demand for dollar would be negative. One more variable that determines quantity demanded for dollar is the interest rate, the real interest rate the real interest rate, that is after you take the impact of inflation out of it, the real interest rate in the US greater than the real interest rate in Japan. So if the real interest rate in the US is higher than the interest rate in Japan, then the Japanese would rather put their money or save the money in US banks or in US dollar, right? They convert their currency into the US dollar and then save it in banks. Because interest rate is higher, banks here pay higher interest. Therefore, the relationship here would be positive because interest rate in the US is greater than interest rate in Japan in real terms. So those are the three main variables that determines quantity demanded for the US as far as the relationship between US and Japanese yen is concerned. How about quantity supplied? Quantity supplied of US dollar. Well, quantity supplied of the US dollar is a function of our income, so US income, number one. Okay, if our income goes up, we would want to buy more stuff. We are wealthier, we want to buy more stuff, including more stuff from Japan, right? So our demand for Japanese goods and services will go up. In order to buy Japanese goods and services, we need to buy it in Japanese yen. How do we get Japanese yen? Well, in the currency market, we are going to exchange our currency, the US dollar, for Japanese yen. So we are given to the currency market, we are supplying the currency market with US dollar. And from them we demand Japanese yen. Okay? So the relationship between US income and quantity supply of dollar would be positive. Another variable is exchange rate, such as we had for quantity demanded for dollar. Now here the relationship between exchange rate and quantity supply of dollar would be positive. Okay? Because exchange rate going up, that means dollar is getting stronger. When we are saying R is going up, R is increasing, that means the US dollar can buy more of the Japanese yen. So for every dollar, now we can buy more of Japanese yen. Assuming prices in Japan remain the same, that means that means our dollar can buy more, it has more purchasing power of Japanese goods and services. So our demand for Japanese goods and services will go up when our currency is strong. When our currency is strong, our demand for their goods and services will go up. So in order to buy their goods and services, we have to go to the currency market and give US dollar or convert US dollar, our currency, for Japanese yen in order to buy their goods and services. So supply of dollar in the market will go up. That's why you have a positive relationship between exchange rate and quantity supplied of dollar. And last, the interest rate in the US, if it is less than the interest rate in Japan, if the interest rate in the US is less than the interest rate in Japan, that means money would go more to our Japanese banks. So if the Japanese banks are paying higher interest, higher real interest than the American banks, then you're going to convert your currency, buy more Japanese yen, and then invest it in Japan. So again, you're supplying the currency market with the US dollar. So in this case, this relationship would be positive. Okay. So if you look at value of a currency in terms of the price of that currency, and then demand and supply of that currency in the market, then the price would be determined by the shift in demand and supply. And this positive and negative you would see here is what it would tell you about the shift in the demand and supply of the currency, the value of the two currencies vis-a-vis each other. Let's look at the situation here. So here is a quantity of dollar on this axis. Here I put price of dollar. Again, price of dollar, we mean R. Okay? You have a demand for a dollar. Demand for a dollar. You have a supply of a dollar. And this equilibrium would be the exchange rate. So let's say it is price of dollar at this moment is equal to 90 Japanese yen. Right? So you say $1 equal 90 Japanese yen. And this many dollar would exchange hand, whatever this is, Q star. That many would exchange hand. Now, if demand for dollar goes up without any change in supply, goes to D prime of a dollar, shift to the right, equilibrium will go up, let's say to 100. So now $1 would be equal to 100 Japanese yen. Why would demand for dollar go up in the market for Japanese yen? Again, this is between only US dollar and Japanese yen. Okay? So each pair of currency would have their own particular market. You have to remember that. You cannot combine all of them together. Right? So demand for a dollar would go up. Why would it go up? Well, income in Japan is up. Interest rate in the US is higher. Right? If income in Japan goes up, they want to buy more stuff, including more stuff from the United States. Therefore, their demand for US dollar will go up. So that's it. Demand would shift to the right. And therefore, US dollar would be stronger. $1 equal 100 Japanese yen now. Again, assuming nothing happened to the supply. You can play with this picture. Supply shift into the right, supply of dollar, we already talked about that. What is the supply of dollar a function of, right? Supply of dollar is a function of our income, for example. So if our income goes up more than the Japanese go up, then we would want to buy more Japanese yen, and then our supply of dollar in the market would go up. And that way, supply would shift to the right. So where would the equilibrium be? Depends on how much you have shift in the supply relative to the shift in the demand. If this shift is basically the same amount, then currency may not change. The exchange rate may not change. If it is higher, it would be the currency rate would be lower. If it is less, the currency rate would be higher. Again, you can play with these pictures. Now, one thing here is that this is the This is the market where you have price of dollar in terms of Japanese yen. You have equivalent picture because every coin has two sides. So demand for a dollar, supply of a dollar. When we are talking about the US dollar and Japanese yen, you would have a demand for Japanese yen and supply of Japanese yen. Right? So let me do another picture here. We're going to use the same numbers. So here I put quantity of yen. Here I put price of yen. And price of yen in terms of dollar, of course, that would be 1 over R, right? The inverse of the exchange rate. So you have a demand for yen. You have supply of yen. And here is the equilibrium. And if we are starting from the same point we had on the previous picture, this would be 1 over 90 of a dollar, right? A little bit more than a penny to every yen. So in the previous picture, we said demand for US dollar go up. This demand for US dollar will go up to D prime because the Japanese have more income. Let's assume that's the reason. They have more income, therefore their demand for US dollar will go up. Now, when they want to purchase more US dollar, what would they purchase it with? They have to purchase it with Japanese yen. So they take the Japanese yen into the currency market and demand US dollar. So while the demand for US dollar go up, the supply of yen will go up. The supply of yen will go up. Okay? So that's the other side of the coin. Demand for dollar goes up. The demand for dollar is satisfied by supply of their own currency. So in this picture, if I want to show equivalent of that, it would be shown with supply shifting to the right, supply of Japanese yen. The new equilibrium, what would it be? 1 over 100 of a US dollar, right? So the value of Japanese yen go down, which is the same as we had in this picture, value of dollar going up. Dollar goes up from $1 equal 90 to $1 equal 100. Right? Dollar is getting stronger. In this picture is showing the other side of the same coin. It starts at 1 yen. 1 yen equal 1 over 90 of a dollar. And this goes to 1 yen equal 1 over 100 of a dollar. So yen will go, the value of yen will go down, which is the same as saying the value of dollar will go up. Okay, these are the two sides of the same coin. Okay. Now, I want to look at some of these slides. I'm gonna skip some of them, but look at and see what we missed in chapter 15. Okay, let's see. Okay, this first table first table is showing that the value of the exchange rate between US dollar and euro, US dollar and Japanese yen, and trade-weighted dollar. The trade-weighted dollar, by the way, is a combination of currencies of the countries that we would do most trade with. Okay, so that shows, for example, whether our currency vis-a-vis the currency of our major trading partners, our currency versus the currency of major trading partner, is it getting weaker or is it getting stronger? Okay, so what we see here from January, first of all, you look at R, which is how much of a foreign currency US dollar can buy. So in January of 2009, $1 was 0.76 of a euro. In June, it went down 0.71. That means our currency became weaker. US dollar became weaker from January 2009 to June of 2009. Now, the other side of the coin is during the same period, we are showing the euro. What is happening to euro? Euro used to be buying $1.32. Now, in June of 2009, it would buy $1.40. So euro is getting stronger, and dollar is getting weaker, which is the same, the two sides of the same coin. But the Japanese yen during the same period, $1 was equal to 90 yen, $1 went to 97 yen. So dollar got stronger. In terms of Japanese yen, and Japanese yen here we show it is getting weaker. This is 100 Japanese yen equal to the dollar, right? So everything here is in dollar amount, right? And against our major trading partner, starts from 109, it goes to 105. So against major trading partner, dollar has gotten weaker and other currencies have gotten stronger. That's what these are showing. And the bottom part is showing from January 2008. This is for 1 year instead of only 6 months, 2008 to 2009. You can look at those pictures, those numbers yourself. Now, here it shows how the exchange rate would impact trade or demand for import and export. So we start with saying that in January 09, R was equal to 90 yen. In June of 09, it became 97. In other words, dollar got stronger. So a US computer, which is $10,000, for a Japanese to purchase that would have meant in January of 09, it would have been 900,000 yen. In June, the same computer, the same $10,000 computer, is now 970,000 yen. So without any change in the price of that computer in US dollar, because this is the computer produced in the United States, for the Japanese is now costing 70,000 yen more for the same computer. So that way, we say export would decrease, because what they're concerned with is how much of their currency they're paying for this computer. So they're paying more in Japanese yen, they're paying more for this computer, so their export would decrease from the United States. Our export to Japan would decrease because they would buy less of this, because it's now 970,000 Japanese yen instead of 900,000 Japanese yen. Now, from the point of import of Japanese car, a 2 million yen Japanese car in the January of '09, when the exchange rate was 90, that would have been $22,200 for us to buy that car. 6 months later, it was only $20,600, right? A discount of about $1,400. So Japanese automobile to us who are paying with dollar is now cheaper. So our import will go up, right? So it creates a deficit. Import increases, export decreases, create a deficit, right? Now, doing the same thing from January of '08 to January of '09, where the rate went from 108 to 90. That means US dollar got weaker. Again, US dollar getting weaker, export should go up. And this is the reason. That same $10,000 computer that was manufactured in the United States, in January of '08, it was 1,080,000 yen. In January of '09, that same computer all of a sudden is 900,000, right? That's 180,000 yen cheaper to the Japanese. So the Japanese would increase their demand for these computers. So that means our export would increase. When you look at the import of that, the same 2 million yen automobile, in January '08, that was $18,500 for us. In January '09, it became $22,200. So for us, this car all of a sudden is about $2,000 more expensive, or $1,700 more expensive. So our import will go down. So export increasing, import decreasing, that would contribute to surplus. Okay, or the amount of the deficit would shrink. However you want to look at it. So the exchange rate has a profound impact on balance of trade, and that's what we showed when we showed the functions exchange rate as a function of export and import, or export as a function of exchange rate. So here showing the balance of trade. Over the years from 2000 to 2012, you can see it's fluctuating completely, moving all over the place. Again, it has to do with the exchange rate, it has to do with income, relative income, it has to do with interest rate. These are the formulas we have seen, determinants of export and import. Export is a function of these variables, import is a function of these variables. Therefore, the net export, which is the difference between export and import, would be a function of those. That is Y, which is our income, Y star. Y is our income, Y star is income of the rest of the world, and R is the exchange rate, US dollar vis-a-vis other currency. Equilibrium in the open economy. This is just a little bit of algebra. You would see that expenditure equal income. Expenditure is these: income, consumption, saving, and taxes. That's what you do with your income. If you cancel C and C from this side and do a little bit of calculation, you come to export minus import equal S minus I and T minus J. This is, by the way, this is called private saving, okay, and this is public saving. This is taxes versus taxes minus government expenditure, saving minus investment. So private saving, that's household and businesses saving, and the other one is government saving. Balance of payment, again, this is accounting form of keeping track of everything. Here we have 2011 balance of payment. Again, just look at the numbers for a little bit. We have export of goods and services, 22,105 billion, and import 2,665,000,000. The difference is this much, which is a deficit of 559 billion dollars. Receipt on U.S. assets abroad. This is how much U.S. companies made overseas, and from that you subtract how much foreign companies made in the U.S. So the difference of 221. So that means we made more money overseas from our investments than foreigners made in the U.S. from their investments in this country. Then you have unilateral transfer. These are the monies that either privately or government gives to other countries. So it can be in the terms of foreign aid from the U.S., or it can be in the individuals, corporation giving money for whatever reason, or individuals sending money to their country. So current balance is minus 473.4. That's the current balance. Now this balance would be offset with the capital outflow and capital inflow, as I said before. So change in U.S., these are the change, not the actual. The change in U.S. holding of foreign assets, which is capital outflow, is minus that much, right? The U.S. holding of foreign assets, so we are holding less. The changes in the foreign holding of the U.S. assets that had gone up, again, because we have a deficit. And some derivatives, playing around with the market and everything, capital account transaction, net statistical discrepancy. And when you do these, it would be exactly 473.4, which is these two. Therefore, this is where I said X minus M plus capital inflow minus capital outflow equal 0. Okay, which is basically this number plus this negative number would be equal to 0. This is balance of payment. You look at the same thing in the T account, debit and credit. Again, these are accounting stuff. You can go and look at it, but it would basically tell you the same story of balance of payment we had before. That the two sides are balanced. The T account summary, balance of payment. We had this equation before, and then we get to the demand for dollar, supply of dollar, right? We are trying to determine the exchange rate, right? And put them together. Quantity supply of dollar is a function of these two variables. Quantity demanded of the dollar is a function of these two variables. Export and capital inflow. There you go. So you have those equations, and we have seen these particularly. We went through the relationship between US dollar and Japanese yen, and we talked about all these determinants and the picture of equilibrium and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go through these changes again. This is a case where demand increased and supply increased the same amount, and therefore the exchange rate remained the same. That is possible to do that. This is where the exchange rate actually ends up being higher, because the increase in demand is way more than the increase in supply. So you end up essentially from A to C. So the exchange rate would go up. and other. This is the same thing. So for demand and supply of euro. So now instead of looking at Japanese economy, you look at the European economy collectively, all under euro. And what happened to this is the story of Thailand crisis of the late 90s. Well, this last thing, I think I can make a fixed versus flexible exchange rate system. Some countries still have their currency pegged to a major currency, so they would have their currency either pegged, say, to the United States or pegged to the European, to the euro and the US dollar, and based on the fact that they do most of the trade with these countries, so they keep the value of their currency against these pegged currency fixed, and it would variable against the other one. But that again, most of these are developing countries and less developed countries. It is difficult to keep the exchange rate fixed because you have to intervene in the market when the exchange rate fluctuates out of a certain percentage of, let's say, 1% above, 1% below, and then they have to interfere in the market. That means buy or sell currency in the currency market to keep the value within that range. But for most major countries like the U.S. and Japan and European, is basically without interference of the government. So the market determines the exchange rate. Although occasionally you hear that they do interfere in the market. Now, Chapter 16 is basically a review of everything in macro and micro economics. It look at the case of McDonald's and try to analyze why the demand for McDonald's have been going down, and it would look at both macroeconomic variables and microeconomic variables, and it would show why it is important to understand the impact of both macro and microeconomic variables on the company revenues. The major thing when you read the case, the major thing about the macroeconomic impact, it will tell you that McDonald's had 40% of its revenue coming from Europe. So during the period under question, when European economy is weak, then their people will spend less money, I suppose, eating out. Therefore, it would be less spend on McDonald's product, assuming, very important assumption, that McDonald's food is a normal good. In other words, it has a positive relationship with income. So when income goes up, you buy more McDonald's good. So if we say that is true, it is a normal good. Then when the European economy goes down, then demand for McDonald's foods and services will go down, and that explains the decline in revenue by McDonald's Corporation. However, there are evidence that suggests that McDonald's is, as a matter of fact, McDonald's food is is inferior good, particularly in the U.S. more than Europe, is an inferior good, and meaning when income goes down, when the economy is bad, people buy more McDonald's hamburger and stuff. So another variable that contributed to the decline in the revenue of McDonald's Corporation, it had to do with preference of the people in terms of what kind of food they want to eat, and all the news about trans fat, acid, and bad news about salt and everything about McDonald's foods coming out has caused people not to buy as much of the McDonald's food. So on the micro level, the competition between McDonald's and other corporations such as Burger King and Pizza Hut and Subway and everything, other fast food restaurants, the competition has been increasing both here and abroad. And that has led to finding ways of attracting more customers to the restaurant, to McDonald's restaurant, by offering, for example, dollar menu, by offering more salads, more healthy choices to the people who are concerned, by offering good coffee, by offering even cheaper prices for some of their food to attract people to come and buy their product. Expanding in other markets in the Far East and the Middle East, in addition to what they have in Europe and the United States. That's another way of increasing the revenue. I think the book says about 1,200 or 1,400 stores in China alone. They have increased that many stores, and offering takeout, offering delivery of food, and offering drive-through windows, and all the and different kind of food that would go more with the culture of the country. For example, in the Middle Eastern countries where the majority are Muslim, then they offer halal meat. Actually, I heard Burger King in the United States, in some community where there are lots of Muslims, they would offer halal meat to their customers if they want it. So, again, the idea is to attract customers from each other. The problem, however, is the structure of the fast food industry is one of oligopoly, and in the oligopoly situation, when one firm does something, others would copy it. Others would do exactly the same thing. Therefore, if McDonald's, for example, offers dollar menu product to attract customers away from Burger King, away from Wendy's, then Burger King and Wendy's immediately come up with the counter, and they also offer $1.99 menu. So that way it would again come to balance, and they cannot pull customers from each other as much based on prices. Pulling customer based on the variety of product you are offering, and new menu and sit down menu and so on and so forth. That's a different story. But they are trying to do everything, the use of technology. We talked about it before, of taking orders and having different kitchen facility and so on and so forth is a way of attracting more customers and therefore increasing their revenue. The challenges to them exist, and it's going to continue. Competition is not only from U.S. companies. The competition is also from companies overseas. So in each one of these markets they enter, there are equivalent to McDonald's, equivalent to Burger King, local company, or it might be a European company. If you go to Japan or you go to China, it might also, there is also a European company who is trying to compete with the American company, who are trying to compete with the local company. So there is all these combination of different players in any given market. So you have to offer your product in such a way that that you can have lower cost and at the same time increase your general revenue and improve your sale, improve your profitability, and in order to stay viable in the fast food industry or in any industry. You can apply the case of McDonald's in this chapter and the first chapter. You can apply that to any kind of company that you want. It can be automobile company. It doesn't make any difference. But the challenges of both macroeconomic and microeconomic challenges, new markets versus old markets which have more tendency to grow, like in the Middle East, for example, markets which are already saturated, like the European market being saturated. Those are all consideration to take in when you're thinking of expanding the market. Well, that take care of these last two chapters. Again, I apologize for not being there on Saturday once more. And as I said, it's a family emergency. I cannot be there, and everything else remains the same. Once more, the assignments remain the same. If you need to get in touch with me, email is the best way, and hopefully again you would review this. It would be on D2L, and you can go back and forth to it. Well, have a nice summer, and those of you who go to Europe, have a safe trip and spend a lot of money. Demand a lot of euros, so euro value will go up. I'm holding a lot of euro. I want to make money off of this. I got about $200 euros in my pocket. So have a safe trip, and the rest of you have a great summer. And I think one more semester left in your program. And I will see you guys around. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. It was a great class. Have a good one. Bye.